The Middle East, a land where deserts meet fertile valleys, where rivers carved the path for the first great civilizations, and where stories of gods, prophets, and kings gave birth to the foundations of our modern world. For thousands of years, empires have risen and fallen here, each leaving behind monuments, faiths, and legacies that still shape humanity today. From the dawn of Mesopotamia to the oil-rich conflicts of the modern age, the Middle East has never been just a region. It has always been the beating heart of world history. The cradle of civilization. Our story begins nearly 6,000 years ago between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers, was home to the Sumerians, who built the first true cities in human history. In places like Uruk and Ur, great ziggurats towered over mud brick streets, while scribes pressed wedge-shaped marks into clay tablets, creating cuneiform, the world's first written language. Here, law codes were etched into stone by kings like Hammurabi of Babylon. Farmers tamed rivers with irrigation. Merchants carried goods across dusty caravan routes, and priests spoke of gods that ruled the heavens. Civilization itself, writing, laws, cities, and trade was born here. But Mesopotamia was never alone. To the west, along the Nile, Egypt flourished, and to the east, Persia would one day rise. The Middle East was becoming a crossroads of worlds.
Egypt and the Great Kingdoms. While Mesopotamia pioneered the tools of civilization, another power was rising along the Nile. Ancient Egypt, with its fertile floodplains, gave birth to pharaohs, pyramids, and a culture that would endure for millennia. The Nile was Egypt's lifeline, flooding each year to bring new life to the soil. Here, immense pyramids were raised in Giza as tombs for god-kings, and the afterlife was prepared for with elaborate rituals and hieroglyphic texts. Egypt's influence stretched beyond its borders. Through trade and conquest, it connected Africa, the Levant, and the Mediterranean, making the Middle East a network of interwoven civilizations. In the East, mighty kingdoms like the Hittites and Assyrians forged empires with iron weapons and fearsome armies, carving their names into history through warfare and domination. But it was in Persia, in the lands of modern-day Iran, where one of the greatest empires the world had ever known would emerge. The Achaemenid Empire, founded by Cyrus the Great in the 6th century BCE, stretched from the Indus Valley to the Mediterranean. It was the first true superpower, a vast, multicultural empire that governed through tolerance and innovation. The Persians built the royal road, standardized coinage, and respected the religions and customs of their subjects. From Persepolis, kings like Darius and Xerxes ruled with splendor. Yet across the sea, a small coalition of Greek city-states challenged Persian might in battles that would echo through the ages. The clash between East and West had begun, and the Middle East was at the center of it.
The Greeks, Alexander, and the Hellenistic Age. The Persian Empire would eventually face its greatest challenge in the 4th century BCE when Alexander the Great marched eastward. With astonishing speed, he toppled the Achaemenid Empire and spread Greek culture across the Middle East. Cities like Alexandria became centers of learning and trade, blending Greek, Persian, and Egyptian traditions. This Hellenistic age transformed the Middle East into a melting pot of cultures. Greek philosophy, science, and art mingled with the traditions of the ancient Near East, leaving a legacy that would ripple for centuries. Rome and the birth of Christianity. But another power soon cast its shadow over the region: Rome. By the 1st century BCE, Roman legions had claimed Syria, Judea, and Egypt, making the Middle East a cornerstone of their empire. It was here, under Roman rule, that a new faith was born. In the small province of Judea, Jesus of Nazareth preached a message of compassion and salvation. Though crucified by Roman authorities, his followers spread his teachings across the empire. Christianity, born in the Middle East, would one day become a global religion, reshaping the Western world.
The rise of Islam. By the 7th century, the Middle East would again change forever. In the deserts of Arabia, the Prophet Muhammad preached the message of Islam, submission to one God, justice, and community. Within decades, his followers had united Arabia and launched a wave of conquests that spread Islam from Spain to India. The Islamic Golden Age soon followed. In cities like Baghdad, Damascus, and Cairo, scholars translated Greek texts, developed algebra, advanced medicine, and charted the stars. Mosques with towering minarets rose across the region, and Islamic art and architecture flourished in breathtaking patterns and calligraphy. The Middle East was now the world's center of science, trade, and culture. The Crusades and the Mongols. But with power came conflict. From the 11th to the 13th centuries, Christian crusaders launched campaigns to capture the Holy Land, clashing with Muslim leaders like Saladin. Later, Mongol hordes stormed the region, sacking Baghdad and bringing devastation. Yet the Middle East endured, adapting and surviving through every storm.
The Ottomans and the Age of Empires. In the 15th century, a new dynasty emerged in Anatolia, the Ottomans. By capturing Constantinople in 1453, they transformed it into Istanbul, capital of an empire that spanned 3 continents. Ottoman sultans ruled with grandeur, commanding armies, trade routes, and faith communities. For centuries, the Middle East was part of this vast and powerful empire. Meanwhile, Persia was ruled by the Safavid dynasty, who shaped Iranian culture, religion, and identity. The Middle East became a chessboard of empires, Ottoman, Persian, and later European powers vying for influence. Colonialism and the fall of empires. By the 19th century, European powers, Britain and France most of all, had turned their eyes toward the region. The Middle East's strategic location and, eventually, its oil made it a target for colonial control. Ottoman lands were carved up after World War I, and new states were drawn onto maps, often with little regard for the people who lived there. The modern Middle East was being born in the shadow of imperialism.
The modern Middle East. The 20th century was one of upheaval. New nations were carved from old empires: Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and more. The discovery of vast oil reserves transformed the region into the economic heart of the modern world, but also made it a battleground of global interests. The creation of Israel in 1948 led to decades of conflict with Palestinians and neighboring Arab states. Wars, revolutions, and uprisings defined the region, from the Iranian Revolution of 1979 to the Gulf Wars, from the Arab Spring to ongoing conflicts in Syria and Yemen. Yet the Middle East is not only a land of conflict, it is also a land of resilience, innovation, and culture. From ancient civilizations to modern skyscrapers in Dubai and Riyadh, the region continues to shape the destiny of humanity. Conclusion. The story of the Middle East is the story of us all. It is where civilization began, where faiths were born, and where empires both flourished and collapsed. Today, the Middle East stands at the crossroads of tradition and modernity, its future as vital and contested as its past.